QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021 Bank Feeds, Add Remaining Transactions, and Bank Rules. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021. Here we are in our Bank Feeds test file. We currently have the open windows open. You can open the open windows by going to the View dropdown, selecting the Open Windows list. We are now going to be adding the remaining bank feed transactions from Bank Feed Limbo into the financial statements. And I want to think about this kind of like you might do for the second month of operations, because many of those will have transactions that have now been memorized. So when you go into this for the second time, for the second month of operations, or operations after the first month, then it should be a lot easier to do the bank feeds transactions if you've set up all your rules and everything properly, because the system will then be recognizing a lot of the transactions. So let's go to the bank feeds, go into the banking dropdown. We're going to go into the bank feeds and the bank feeds center. Once again, we're in the checking account. We have the recognized transactions, and then we have the unrecognized transactions. And like if you went into this for the second month of operations, know that you would have a lot less in the unrecognized transactions here, because anything that it can apply a rule to, it will then pull over to the recognized transactions. So if you did if your second month, it resembles your first month a lot, in other words, a lot of the same vendors and customers, then it should be a lot easier to do the second month of operations. Also, if you're doing a full service bookkeeping system, and you are recording some of the transactions along this line, and you're using the matching process for the feeds to match up rather than building your books totally from the bank statements, then those items should start to match up as well automatically, as QuickBooks will recognize basically the amount. And note there's not a whole lot QuickBooks is going on to match those up sometimes, other than basically the amount, that it has to match up. So in any case, if we're at this point in time, you'll typically have the recognized transactions, and then we will have the new ones that we'd have to enter. So you'd want to review through the recognized transactions. So I would take a look at them and see if the rule was correctly applied. You can just check them all off like this and group batch add them. But I still like to kind of review them a little bit. I can at least do one button at a time. That's still pretty fast. So I'd go down here and I'd say, okay, this one, rule applied, and is that what I wanted to do? Go into the equipment, I'll say yes, because I'm going to add the same process. So I'm going to say that looks good. That one goes in. This one, we're going to say, okay, rule applied. This is Audible. It's going into the Audible payee. The other account that's going to be affected is going to be Audible Books. So let's just review these as we enter them actually too. I'll go to the reports up top. Company and financial. Let's take a look at the balance sheet standard. Balance sheet standard. I'm going to go to the customized dates up top, changing the dates from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. Let's go ahead and check that out. Then we're going to go to the reports of the P&L, profit and loss, company and financial, profit and loss. 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. Here we have this. Let's go ahead back to our bank feeds. Once we add this one, we expect the checking account to be going down, and the other side going to the audiobooks, which is an income account. If you could check that here, income account, that looks good. It's a deposit, so I'm going to say $97.40 is the amount. Okay, let's check it out. Let's go back to our balance sheet, check it out. Double clicking here, that was the $97.40 on the increase. $97.40. There's a lot of transactions even. Here it is. Other side's going to the Audible. All right, so I'm going to close that back out, and that's going to be on the profit and loss. Audible income, there it is, and audiobook income, and there it is, I believe. I think that's it. I'm going to close this back out. We'll go back to the bank feeds. Let's do the next one. We're going to say, all right, that one. Stripe income, it's going to be going to website sales, which is also an income statement account. So decrease to the checking account by the 193, other side going to income for Stripe. Okay, let's check that out. So 193, balance sheet, double clicking, finding the 193. I think that's this one. Is that this one down here, the 193 Stripe? We had a couple for that 193, but in any case, the other side's going to be going to the profit and loss, and that went to the website income. So we put that to website income here at the 193. So there is that side of things. So let's go back to the bank feeds. We'll say, okay, next one, This is going to be, and let's sort these. We can sort these now. I'll put this one to Audible 2, same transaction. The audiobook income is going up and checking account going down. Okay. Google AdSense, let's check these off and say, okay, a rule applied. Google, the other side's going to YouTube income. So I'm going to say, let's batch add those, drop up, the rise up, and add and confirm. All right. And then 2 transactions were successfully added for Google. So if we go to Google, we should see those transactions increasing here with the Google transactions. And I'll close this back out. If we go back to the P&L, and we got the Google income, so, or which I think I called it YouTube income. So YouTube income now increasing. All right, that's good. And then we're going to go back to the bank feeds, see what else we have here. These are the Primerica Life going to insurance expense. Now these well, I'll leave it as is. So it's going to go to insurance expense. I'll take those out, decrease in the checking account. Other side going to insurance expense. So I'm going to batch add those. And so there we have that. So it's going to decrease the checking account. The other side's going to be in the P&L. Let's just look at the P&L as we go. And that will be down here in the insurance. That was on the expense side. Notice we have a subcategory now, so it puts it into these other category, even though I basically put it to the parent category of the insurance. I should probably make another one called insurance liability for a subcategory. Not going to do that at this point, however. So we're going to go back to the bank feeds. We got then, this is another one applied. We saw that before, so I'll do this one again and just add it. Then we have the gas paid. So I'm going to check these 2 off. The other side's going to the utilities. Let's go ahead and batch add those. Batch add, save it. And then we're going to go back to our P&L. That'll be on the utilities. So down to the utilities. So checking account went down, other side going to the utilities. So that looks about right. It seems reasonable. Back to the bank feeds. And then Verizon, other side going to the telephone company according to the rule. Looks good. Let's hit the batch add and say add and confirm. Add confirm, roger that, roger out. And then we're going to go back to the profit and loss, and that went to the telephone items. Telephone items. And so that's a lot easier to do on the second month. The second month looks a lot more like that. But you still have a few probably that are going to be over here into the uncategorized. So we have like interest. So that this is something that would be on the bank statement. We wouldn't really know about it. So even if you're using a full service system, you probably wouldn't know about fees or about like interest income until you get the bank statement. So then we could say the payee is going to be, what did we say? Wells Fargo tab. I'm going to quick add. It's not really a vendor or a customer, it's our bank. So I'm going to say other. I'll say other down here. And then you might have a memo. I'll leave it blank here, however. And we're going to need a new account. This is going to be interest income. So I'm going to set it up as an income account, but I'm going to put it into an other income account because I want to see it on the bottom of the income statement, because interest income is not what I usually think of as doing to make money. So I don't really want it in my ordinary income. I want it on the bottom as like investment income or other type of income. So this is going to be interest income, and that looks good. So I'll save that, and then I'm going to make a rule, see if I can make a rule for that one. So let's see if we can add more details, and I'll see if I want to see the item here, and then I'm going to set up a rule. We need a rule, and the rule is going to be, the rule name is interest payment. Interest payment. And then we're going to say that it's going to be a description rule. And if it contains interest payment, then it needs to go to interest income. That looks good. So I'm going to save that. And we'll save and add that one. Then those other interest ones now popped over here into the recognized item. So I can go back over here and it applied the rule just like we thought it should. So, and it's checked them off for it. So let's go ahead and batch add those. So we'll add and confirm those. This will be increasing, of course, the checking account. The other side's going to go to the P&L. Let's check out the P&L. That's where the interesting side is, because we did something a little bit different. We put the income down here in other income. So we didn't put the income up top, reasoning being it's not part of what we normally do. I'm not in the business of making interest income. It just happened to be that I got a little bit of interest income. So here's like the normal business income or net income. And here's like the other income that just happened to be there that I wasn't really shooting for in terms of my normal business operations. So then we're going to go back to our bank feeds and let's take a look at the uncategorized. And then this is a transfer. So this is a transfer item. So let's say this one needs to go to the owner name, and the other account is going to be this is going to be transferred from the bank to the owner. So I need to put it in some kind of equity account. So we've seen this before. It's going to go into draws. Now it looks like they gave me enough to really assign a rule here. So I've got this information here so I can assign a rule. Let's assign a rule. We're going to add more details and do a rule here. We'll say I want to do a rule. And then this rule is going to say, if it says rule name, let's say draw or transfer. And this is going to be a description rule. Once again, we'll say if it contains, and maybe just the name or saving. Let's do that. That'll work. And then the owner name and owner draws. That looks good. So I'm going to say save, and let's apply that rule. A rule has been applied. No other transactions to apply it to right now, but it'll apply it to them next month. And then we're going to go up top and go into the balance sheet now. We know that the checking account is affected. This time the income statement is not affected because the owner took the money out. It's going to go down here into draws. So we have the draws, and the owner's living on $75 a month. So that's nice. So then we're going to go back to the bank feeds and American Express. Now this is another credit card, it looks like. And you can, we could connect American Express and do the same thing we did with Wells Fargo. It's not set up right now, so I'm going to do the clearing account thing. Notice if you do not have the credit card information in there, then you're not recording the detail. All you can do right now is record that possibly the credit card expense from the checking account side of things, which is not good because it has no detail. You don't know what you actually purchased. So you gotta have the detail on the credit card statements, which you can typically do for most major credit cards, as we did with the Visa card by connecting it and then paying this off to the liability account and adding all the details of the purchases, which is what you really want to have with the credit card detail. So I'm going to pretend that we're going to set that up, and I'm going to put this to that credit card clearing account that we set up. And then when I set up the credit card, the charges will offset it. So let's see how that will work. I'm going to add this to the clearing account. Let's just say this is going to a new item or a new vendor, and this is going to be for American Express. So American Express, and I'm going to copy that and put that down here in the name and say okay. So then we have the account, and I'm going to put it to that credit card clearing account we set up, credit card clearing. And then I'm not going to set a rule for it just yet until I get this credit card thing set, the other side set up, which I won't do in this demonstration problem. And so we're going to say that. And then if I go to the balance sheet, checking account went down. Other side didn't go to the income statement. It's not an expense. I didn't put the whole thing to like credit card charges expense because that's not very detailed. I mean, if you have to do that, you have to do that. But you want the detail on there so you can categorize the expenses. Therefore, it's currently in the credit card clearing account here, credit card clearing account. And so you could, and then once I have the charges in there, it'll then record the expenses and then net out against this item. So this is what I like about this clearing account. I can kind of see the activities of the payments on the credit card side and the banking side. So if I close that back out, also note that this clearing account we used for 2 different credit cards, which will be fine if you're on, because it's just a clearing account. It should go up and then back down, and shouldn't be a problem for if you use it for multiple different credit accounts. But you could set up a different clearing account for every credit card, so that you only have the matching of one credit card in each clearing account. And you can kind of see the offsets of that one credit card. That would be a little bit, cleaner in some ways, but one clearing account for multiple credit cards can work as well. So then we're going to go back to the bank feeds, and we've got the one more on the Primerica deposit, which I'm not exactly sure. I can't exactly remember where we put that into. So I'll say Primerica, and then the other side I'm going to say is an income account. So we're looking for an income account down here. I'm going to call it, I'll just call it consulting income for now and finish this off. So I'm going to say add that item. And so we'll add that, and now nothing's in the recognized items, nothing's in partially recognized, nothing's in the unrecognized, and they've all been added at this point in time. So this the process is basically done at this point with regards to the current batch of items that were in limbo from the last download.